When people think of South Park, they picture chaos, absurd humor, wild storylines, and characters who never seem to learn. But hidden inside all the ridiculousness are moments of genuine brilliance. Beneath the crude jokes and cardboard mountains, South Park has delivered some of the smartest social observations ever animated. This is the story of the times when the show proved it was running at 200 IQ. The first spark of genius came in the show's earliest years. Long before social media became everyone's soapbox, South Park tackled the idea of performative outrage. In the 1999 episode Chef's Chocolate Salty Balls, the writers mocked Hollywood's habit of packaging morality for profit. The town becomes obsessed with fame, then forgets why it was upset in the first place. Watching it today feels eerily prophetic, a prediction of how fast modern outrage cycles burn out online. Then came Chin Pokemon. On the surface, it was a parody of the Pokemon craze. Underneath, it was an exploration of marketing psychology. The episode deconstructed how corporations use patriotism, repetition, and fear of missing out to sell products. Every time the kids repeated, "I must collect them all," viewers were really watching a crash course in consumer behavior. It was satire disguised as Saturday morning cartoon mania. Few moments capture the show's intelligence better than Good Times with Weapons. The episode begins as a simple ninja parody, but transforms into a study on perception and responsibility. When the kids imagine themselves as anime heroes, the art style shifts dramatically. The first time South Park ever broke its visual rules to make a moral point. The brilliance wasn't in the weapons, it was in showing how imagination can blind people to real-world consequences. By the mid-2000s, South Park had evolved into something sharper, a mirror that reflected every cultural contradiction. Goobax delivered one of the most quoted lines in comedy history: "They took our jobs." But beneath the joke was an examination of economic anxiety and cyclical labor markets. The final scene, where the townspeople literally dig a hole to the future instead of solving their problems, remains one of the most concise metaphors for policy avoidance ever animated. Then there's Trapped in the Closet, an episode that turned a single celebrity feud into a philosophical debate about belief systems. The writers dissected the tension between faith and reason without taking sides, using satire to ask whether blind devotion to religion, fame, or ideology can ever lead to truth. Few shows could mix existential questions with pop culture absurdity and still make audiences laugh. In Make Love Not Warcraft, the series achieved something extraordinary. It turned online gaming, often dismissed as escapism, into a metaphor for persistence and community. The boys' endless grind to defeat a digital villain became a symbol for human determination itself. The episode even changed how mainstream audiences viewed gamers, portraying them as problem solvers rather than slackers. It was storytelling so sharp that Blizzard Entertainment itself helped animate the episode. Another 200 IQ moment arrived with Cartoon Wars. Instead of taking the easy route of controversy, the two-part episode questioned the limits of free speech itself. By depicting a network too afraid to air an image, the creators made the audience confront its own boundaries. The episode's true target wasn't censorship, it was the fear that fuels it. Night of the Living Homeless tackled another hot-button issue with mathematical precision. Using zombie movie tropes, the show explained the economics of homelessness and public funding better than most documentaries. When Randy yells, "They're not after our money, they're after our spare change," it sounds absurd, yet it perfectly summarizes how empathy often collapses into self-interest. In 2008, South Park aired Major Boobage, a love letter to the 1981 cult film Heavy Metal. Beneath its psychedelic visuals, the episode quietly explored addiction and escapism. The way the animators blended hand-drawn sequences with digital layers was a technical breakthrough, one that later influenced the show's cinematic episodes. It proved that intelligence isn't just in writing, it's in visual experimentation. Then came Margaritaville, the post-recession masterpiece. Instead of blaming bankers or politicians, the story treated the global financial crisis as a religious prophecy, a system people worship without understanding. By turning economics into theology, the writers made one of the most complex subjects on television feel both hilarious and painfully accurate. Economists even used clips from the episode in university lectures. In You Have Zero Friends, South Park predicted social media anxiety before it became mainstream news. The boys compete for online validation while their real-world relationships crumble. The episode explained digital addiction, peer pressure, and identity performance years before major studies confirmed them. Watching it now feels less like comedy and more like a public service announcement cleverly wrapped in satire. Another brilliant episode, Raising the Bar, dissected reality television culture and the rise of celebrity as self-promotion. Cartman's quest to raise the bar becomes a critique of how entertainment lowers it instead. The closing monologue, delivered by a talk show host character, functions like an editorial, calm, rational, and devastatingly honest. Few comedies dare to end with self-reflection. South Park made it an art form. When virtual currency fever hit, South Park answered with sponsored content. It exposed how advertising had quietly invaded journalism. Characters who thought they were reading news discover they're inside an ad, a perfect metaphor for modern media. That one plot twist explained the entire attention economy crisis more clearly than hours of pundit debates. The show's genius often lies in pairing absurd setups with frighteningly accurate logic. In The Pandemic Special, the town's attempt to fix one problem only multiplies 10 others, mirroring how real societies respond to global events. Beneath the jokes about masks and chaos, the script studied human adaptability and denial with documentary-level insight. Another masterstroke came with Post-COVID, the two-part special that leaped decades into the future. Instead of predicting technology or politics, it focused on nostalgia itself. How longing for the past can prevent growth. The adult versions of The Boys weren't caricatures, they were case studies in how childhood friendships shape adult decisions. The emotional intelligence of those episodes surprised even longtime fans. Even throwaway jokes often carry deep reasoning. When Randy Marsh turns Tegrity Farms into a business empire, the satire isn't just about trends, it's about human justification. Each time Randy insists he's doing it for integrity, the audience sees how ideals become excuses. It's behavioral economics disguised as slapstick. Behind the outrageous characters and chaotic plots, South Park has always been about systems, how media, money, and belief interact. Every town meeting, every wild scheme is a miniature model of real governance. The show turns civic theory into farce, proving that understanding power dynamics can be funny without losing its truth. What makes these 200 IQ moments truly remarkable is timing. The creators, Trey Parker and Matt Stone, write and animate episodes in less than a week, reacting to current events almost in real time. That speed lets them capture public emotion before it hardens into consensus. While most shows analyze culture after it settles, South Park catches it mid-transformation, the exact moment when people are still figuring out what they think. More than 2 decades later, the show's smartest moments endure because they never lecture. They invite audiences to laugh first, then realize what they've learned afterward. Beneath the paper cutout animation lies a philosophical engine, one that questions everything from politics to friendship to the meaning of progress itself. South Park may look crude, but it thinks deeply. Its smartest 200 IQ moments remind us that intelligence isn't about complexity, it's about clarity. Sometimes the sharpest social commentary doesn't come from ivory tower experts. It comes from a tiny mountain town where every ridiculous idea hides a grain of truth.